Hi, my name is Priya. I'm 32 years old and I work as a graphic designer for a marketing firm in Mumbai. I have been married to my husband, Raj, for 7 years. Raj is 35 and works as a project manager in an IT company. He's incredibly hardworking, ambitious, and well respected in his field. On the surface, our life looks perfect. We live in a cozy apartment, have decent careers, and often hear from others how lucky we are to have each other. But behind closed doors, my heart feels a growing ache, a void that I've been struggling to fill. Raj doesn't spend enough time with me anymore, and it's slowly taking a toll on our relationship. Let me take you back to where it all began. When Raj and I first met, it was love at first sight, or something very close to it. I was in my late 20s, and he was the kind of guy who could make anyone laugh. His charm was effortless, his warmth undeniable. We dated for 2 years before tying the knot. Those were the happiest years of my life. In the beginning, Raj always made me feel like I was his priority. He'd surprise me with little things, a coffee date after a long day, handwritten notes, or even just taking time to talk about my day. After we got married, things were still wonderful. We would spend weekends binge-watching movies, going for long drives, and planning trips to places we both loved. But slowly life began to change. Raj's work responsibilities increased, and with that his hours in the office grew longer. Initially, I understood. After all, we both had demanding jobs, and I knew he was doing this for our future. But what started as occasional late nights soon became the norm. At first I tried not to let it bother me. I filled my evenings with my hobbies, painting, reading, and sometimes catching up with friends. But as the weeks turned into months, I realized how much I missed him. Dinner conversations became one-sided, with me asking questions and him replying distractedly while checking his phone. Weekends, which were once sacred, were now spent with him glued to his laptop, preparing presentations or answering emails. I began to feel invisible. I remember one evening vividly. It was our wedding anniversary, and I had planned a surprise dinner at home. I decorated the dining table with candles, cooked his favourite dishes, and even dressed up in the sari he once said was his favourite. I waited for hours. When Raj finally walked in, it was past 10 p.m. He looked exhausted. "Priya, I'm so sorry," he said, glancing at the table. "There was an issue at work and I couldn't leave earlier." He hugged me quickly and promised to make it up to me over the weekend, but I knew he wouldn't. The thing about loneliness in marriage is that it's not the absence of someone, it's the presence of someone who isn't truly there. I tried talking to Raj about it. "I miss us," I told him one night as we lay in bed. He looked at me confused. "Priya, I'm here every day. What do you mean?" "You're here, but you're not with me," I replied. "We don't talk like we used to. We don't do things together anymore. I feel like I'm living with a stranger." He sighed. "It's just a phase, Priya. Work is hectic now, but things will get better soon." But soon never came. Over time, I noticed changes in myself too. I stopped trying to engage him in conversation because I didn't want to be disappointed. I stopped planning dates or surprises because they no longer felt appreciated. I started questioning my worth, wondering if I was expecting too much. There were moments of resentment too, I'd see couples at restaurants laughing together or scrolling through social media where everyone seemed to have the perfect marriage. It made me feel like a failure. I even began to withdraw from my friends, embarrassed to admit that my marriage wasn't as perfect as it seemed. My best friend, Ritu, was the only one who noticed. "Priya, you don't seem like yourself these days," she said one afternoon over the coffee. I hesitated before opening up to her. "I don't know, Ritu. I feel like Raj and I are drifting apart. He's so busy with work that I don't feel like I matter anymore." Ritu listened patiently before saying something that stuck with me. "Priya, relationships need effort from both sides. Maybe he doesn't realize how much this is affecting you. Have you thought about showing him, not just telling him?" Her words stayed with me. Maybe I needed to approach this differently. One weekend I decided to plan a day that reminded us of our early years together. I didn't tell Raj beforehand. I booked us tickets to a movie we'd been wanting to see, packed a picnic, and even planned a visit to the park where he had proposed to me. When Saturday came, I asked Raj to clear his schedule. He looked hesitant, but agreed. The day was magical. For the first time in years, we laughed, talked, and simply enjoyed each other's company. At the park, I told him how much I missed moments like these. "Priya," he said, holding my hand, "I didn't realize how much I was taking you for granted. I'm sorry. I'll do better." Things didn't change overnight, but that day was a turning point. Raj began to make small efforts, putting his phone away during dinner, planning a weekend getaway, or simply asking me about my day. And I realized something too. While I needed Raj to prioritize our relationship, I also needed to communicate better and make space for moments of connection, even amidst our busy lives. Over the next few months, Raj and I continued to work on rebuilding our connection. It wasn't always easy, and there were times when old habits crept back in. But the difference was that now we were both aware of the effort it took to maintain the bond we cherished. One of the changes we made was setting aside non-negotiable time for each other. We decided that Sunday evenings would be our time. No work, no distractions, just us. Sometimes we'd go out for dinner, and other times we'd stay in, cook together, and talk about anything and everything. One Sunday, as we sat on the balcony sipping tea, Raj opened up in a way I hadn't seen in years. "Priya," he began, his voice soft, "I want you to know that my work isn't more important than you. I know it feels like I've been choosing it over our marriage, and for that I'm sorry. I think somewhere along the way I got so caught up in trying to provide for us that I forgot to simply be with you." His words touched me deeply. It wasn't just an apology. It was an acknowledgement of my feelings, something I had craved for so long. "I understand, Raj," I replied, reaching for his hand. "I know you're doing your best and I appreciate it. I just need to feel like we're in this together, that no matter how busy life gets, we'll always make time for us." Another thing that helped was introducing little rituals into our daily lives. For example, we started having breakfast together every morning, even if it was just a quick 10 minutes before heading to work. It became our moment to connect before the chaos of the day began. I also began to involve Raj more in my world. I'd share snippets of my projects, ask for his opinions, and sometimes even invite him to my office events. To my surprise, he started doing the same, sharing updates about his work and even asking for my advice on certain decisions. These small changes made a big difference. It wasn't just about spending time together, it was about feeling like we were part of each other's lives again. However, not every day was smooth. There were still moments of frustration, especially when deadlines loomed and Raj's work demands spiked. On those days, I reminded myself that progress isn't linear. Relationships require patience, and setbacks don't mean failure. One such moment happened during a particularly stressful week for Raj. He had been working late every night, and I could feel the distance creeping in again. I was tempted to retreat into silence, but instead I chose to address it directly. "Raj," I said one night as he sat at his laptop, "I know you're under a lot of pressure, but can we take just 5 minutes to talk? I miss you." He looked up, his expression softening. "Of course, Priya," he said, closing his laptop. "Thank you for reminding me. I don't want to fall back into old patterns." That moment reinforced the importance of open communication. It's easy to let resentment build, but addressing issues early can prevent them from spiraling. One of the most meaningful steps we took was going on a short vacation. It wasn't anything extravagant, just a 3-day trip to a nearby hill station, but it gave us the chance to disconnect from the outside world and focus solely on each other. During that trip, we rediscovered the joy of simply being together. We went for long walks, played silly games, and even spent an afternoon reminiscing about our early days of dating. Those moments reminded us why we fell in love in the first place. On the last night of the trip, as we sat by a bonfire, Raj took my hand and said, "Priya, I promise to keep working on us. I know I'll have busy times ahead, but I never want you to feel like you're alone in this marriage. You're my partner, and I'm so grateful for you." Tears welled up in my eyes as I replied, "And I promise to keep being patient and understanding. I know we're both juggling a lot, but as long as we prioritize each other, I believe we'll be okay." When we returned home, life didn't magically become perfect. There were still challenges, but there was also a renewed sense of hope. We had both realized that love isn't just about grand gestures. It's about the everyday effort to show up for each other, even when it's hard. Looking back on our journey, I feel proud of how far we've come. There were times when I doubted whether we could find our way back to each other, but our commitment to making things work proved stronger than any obstacle. To anyone reading this who might be facing similar struggles, my advice is simple: don't give up. Relationships aren't always easy, but they're worth fighting for. Communicate openly, be patient, and never stop showing your love. Raj and I are still learning, still growing, and still choosing each other every day. And that, I believe, is the essence of a lasting partnership.